High Court in Pietermaritzburg has today dismissed with cause an application brought by late King Goodwill Zwelithini's first wife. Queen Sibongile Dlamini applied to inherit 50% of the late King's estate on the basis that she's the first wife. Judge Mdluli ruled that the application was premature and that the estate matter can be dealt with by the executor. Madondo has also ordered the suspension of the execution of the late King's will. Some of the royal princesses brought an application to challenge the validity of the monarch's signature. Well, senior reporter Siphamandla Goge has been covering the court proceedings, while Lethiwe Mdluli has been watching the huge support that's been shown from outside. They are both joining us now live from Pietermaritzburg. Good afternoon, Siphamandla, and good afternoon, Lethiwe. Siphamandla, can I begin with you? Just take us through today's court proceedings.
There were three applications that Judge Madondo had to deal with. One, the one that was brought by the late King's first wife, Dlamini of Pietermaritzburg Royal Palace. She was arguing that as the first wife, she should inherit 50% of the late King's estate. Judge Madondo was saying, well, your application is premature because we are not dealing with the matter here. We need to go back and that matter can be dealt with by the executor. And for now, I think I have to dismiss your application with costs. So that was number one, done and dusted. Number two was about the late King's two daughters from Pietermaritzburg Royal Palace who were arguing that their father's signature on the will may have been forged. So when it comes to that matter, Judge Madondo said, okay, you seem to appear to have persuaded me regarding the issue of the will, but that matter will not be decided by this court. It will have to be decided by a trial court. You need to put forward a formal application in dealing with the issue of the will. So, but the order was that for now, the will is suspended, or the executor is basically prohibited from implementing or executing the will of the late King. Now, the applicants, two daughters of the King, were given 15 days to make sure that they apply and they put formal a proper application in the case to deal with the issue of the signatures of the late King on the will. Now, number three was the issue of Prince Mbonisi, the late King's brother. Basically, he wanted to prevent or to halt the coronation of King Misuzulu. He had heard that on December 3 last year, King Misuzulu and his supporters were intending to coronate him, and then he rushed to court on an urgent basis, saying, well, for now, the issue of the throne is not done and dusted. He cannot coronate himself. Judge Madondo saying, well, it seems as if the Prince Mbonisi came to court on the basis of rumors. He dismissed his application with cause. But I'm joined by Pumelelo Zigalala from Zigalala Tennis. Baba, thank you very much for time. Your summary of the judgment, particularly, let's delve in on point number two, application number two, whereby the will of the King, the execution of that will is suspended pending this deadline of 15 days for the applicants to file. Talk to us about that summary.
Certainly, the court came to the conclusion that there is harm that the princess may suffer, so she must be given reprieve, an opportunity to state her case. Now, in doing this, she would need to bring forward vocal evidence, and evidence which would be able to display exactly where the forgery lies. Now, it's very difficult to do that within motion proceedings or in application proceedings. So the best way in which to do it is to bring action proceedings through summons. They should allow an opportunity for individuals to go into the witness box, give evidence to the authenticity of the accuracy of the signature of the King, and then at a later stage, that particular judge will be able to deal with the matter, which is why she was given 15 days to say, go and fix your papers, come back and let's deal with that matter at that particular point in time. One hurdle that you may find, the will may have been submitted, but it may have not been accepted by the executor, or she may need to lodge her disappointment or her disapproval of the will with the executor first before moving to court.
In ordering that the execution of the will be suspended, many people were confused that what does that mean for King Misuzulu. But Judge Madondo was clear to say the issue of the throne and succession and King Misuzulu does not feature on that aspect of it.
He was basically saying these are two unrelated aspects. The mere fact that there may have been mention of someone who's going to be the successor was merely someone's wishes being suggested to the rest of the royal family. They're not obligated in whatever means to accept it. They still hold their independent views whether to accept or to reject it. Hence, it doesn't mix in any manner. What is much more important when it comes to the throne There's a Zulu Royal meeting which is supposed to be held, the attendees that are supposed to be there, and the manner of proceedings which then take place. And also, after those particular proceedings, and depending on the outcome, we then take it to the president.
Now, let's talk about this issue here. I know nothing about the law, but Judge Madondo appears to have dedicated quite a bit of time in dealing with issues of succession and the throne, basically paving the way for King Misuzulu to be coronated. Because if I were to quote him, he says he is an undisputed contender of the throne. There is no one who's contesting him, even though that was not the main application before him.
Sometimes when judgment has been written or been delivered, there's a certain section called the obiter, in which the court will then say, this is not the main point in which we have asked to discuss or to rule on. However, it is a point of interest, and it is just that we pronounce on it so that at the end of the day, it is easy to dispel any misgivings or misunderstandings that may be there. So what Judge Madondo was doing was basically giving them a test case in which the court would look at whether to determine whether that particular method of selecting the next king has been flawed or is correct.
Very briefly, let's rewind, go back to application number 1 here. The first queen wanting 50% of the estate. Judge Madondo saying this application is premature. The executor will deal with the matter later on.
Definitely, he was saying, why should I declare your marriage as a civil one when it has not been disputed? There's no dispute that exists. There's no need for me to declare. If you want at a later stage and someone has laid the dispute, then you can come to court. But there are ways and means in order to do that once the estate has been lodged and the executor is about to distribute the estate of the deceased. Do
you foresee some applicants and parties appealing this one?
They may, but the chances of the appeal being succeeding are very minimal. What Judge Madondo was succeeded in doing was to lay the law down and lay the flaws in each of the following applications. It should be very difficult to deal with those flaws because you can't bring in new evidence. While you go on the appeal, you're bound by the four walls of the particular appeal.
Thank you very much for your time, Baba. That is Mpumelelo Zigalala from Zigalala Attorneys, basically summarizing this judgment by Judge Madondo of the High Court Division in KwaZulu-Natal, sitting in Pietermaritzburg, Brother.
Yeah, let's just find out while you're still connected, Siphamandla. Let's go to Lethiwe, Mdluli, because she was outside while you were inside there in the court, and we just got that nice summary there. Let's ask Lethiwe, what kind of support was exhibited and shown outside, demonstrated in this case?
Well, Praden, we've seen some celebrations from outside the Pietermaritzburg High Court. AmaZulu and Lizintombi gathered to watch the proceedings, the court proceedings from outside. And currently, I'm just going to ask my colleagues in Hlengidi to show you AmaZulu gathering outside. They've been receiving a briefing from some of the royal family members who shared with them what exactly took place inside. As you can see, the celebrations are still ongoing. A lot of people from outside are happy about the judgment, and they are saying that they are hoping that the coronation will go ahead. And now I'm joined by the leader of AmaZulu, Ubabanyandeni. I want to bring him in and just get his reaction and also AmaZulu's reaction. Ubabanyandeni, thank you so much for your time and welcome to eNCA. Just a bit of reaction from you as AmaZulu from what happened in court today.
Angibonge dadewethu mbingelele ongikhuleke esilweni esikhulu bayede wena uhlanga njengamabutho kaZulu nesizwe sonke sithokoze kakhulu ngesinqumo esikhishwe inkantolo namhlanje nakuba kukhona lo 15 days inkantolo obekileyo ongasinikeza ukuthula nokuphumula kodwa esikuthokozela kakhulu ukuthi namhlanje abantu bonke nabebezenzisa iqiniso bayalazi namhlanje yilokho sikuthokozela kakhulu sibonge kakhulu kuNdunankulu kaZulu intala waphinda ngene inkosi esizwe wabuthelezi umsebenzi usebenzile ukumelela lokhu loludaba kukhulunywa konke bekhulunywa enikwaziyo na njengeintatheli kodwa waba nomgogodla kulolu daba laseNdlunkulu siyabonga kakhulu sengathi ushenge uNkulunkulu bengathi amgcine alungise lesizwe esiyeweni
kahle kahle singasho nje ukuthi isizwe sakwaZulu sijabulile njengoba sekuzoqhubekela phambili nanokuthi ke senilindele ukuthi King Misuzulu coronate uqhubekele phambili
kahle kahle sijabule nje ubona insizwa nje izigiya ikhombisa injabulo ezinayo okubalekile ukuthi isicelo lesi esisibhekisa thina kuNdunankulu wesizwe sikaZulu emakhosini asendlunkulu abambe iqhaza elikhulu ekutheleni ukuze kufike kulesi sikhathi esikuso njengamanje. Kubantwana basendlunkulu siyacela ukuthi inkosi ayifakwe esibayeni. Siyacela inkosi ayifakwe esibayeni ukuze angabikho umuntu ozodlala adlalele odabeni lwesihlalo somkhosi. Yeah, siyabonga.
But then that was Babnyandeni speaking on behalf of AmaButho. What he's basically saying is that they are hoping that the royal family will come together from now on and that the coronation can forge ahead. He's also making a mention of the fact that they're very happy about the proceedings in court today and also the judgment that came out. As you can see, izintombi are still celebrating, and we've seen some celebrations by AmaButho, and I'm guessing these celebrations are going to carry on until this afternoon. We've been told that they will not be leaving for now. They're still going to be singing and dancing outside, just basically showing how happy they are about this judgment.
Thank you very much, Lethiwe Mdluli. As we conclude, Siphamandla, let me come to you and very briefly, the dismissals of the two issues are very clear around the 50% share that Queen Sibongile Dlamini-Zulu wanted to inherit, and also the whole issue of the coronation of Misuzulu Zwelithini as AmaZulu king. That way is now clearly very open, and there's eagerness, I'm sure, on all sides for that coronation to take place soon. But that small matter of the will, just to understand, we expect another trial? Should we expect a court trial around that issue on the execution of the will with Judge Madondo suspended today?
Indeed. So on the issue of the will, the execution of that will has been basically put on hold now. The applicants here, the late king's two daughters from Mdluli Royal Palace, have got 15 days to file a formal application, a separate application now, challenging the validity and the authenticity of that will. If they decide not to exercise their right of filing again, then that judgment and the order will lapse. So the issue will be left at that. But also, respondent number 7 was interdicted from executing the will. Now, who is respondent number 7 in this matter? Respondent number 7 is the executor of the will, is a guy known as Jerome Ngwenya, who was once the chairperson of Ingonyama Transport, a very close ally of the late Zulu king. Here I'm talking about King Goodwill Zwelithini Zulu. So Jerome Ngwenya has been interdicted from executing the will of the late king pending the finalization of the issue of the signatures, because Judge Madondo noted that yes, even though the matter was discussed in this court, there were arguments, there were experts who had to come in and deal with the issue of the signature. There were those who concluded that the signatures on the will are those of the late king. However, there were experts who say, well, this needs further scrutiny. So up until that issue of the signatures of the late king on the will is done and dusted, that will not be executed for now. But it has got nothing to do with the throne and the issue of the coronation, because there were those who were arguing that technically King Misuzulu cannot be coronated because he's a beneficiary of that will. Now, King Zwelithini left the throne with King Misuzulu's mother, the late Queen Mantfombi. In turn, Queen Mantfombi drafted her own will nominating King Misuzulu to take over the throne. Judge Madondo saying, hang on, there is no mere mention there of Misuzulu in that will of the king. The throne was left with Queen Mantfombi. Queen Mantfombi drafted her own will, which in turn she says which in turn she said she was going to nominate King Misuzulu as the next king of the Zulu nation. So Judge Madondo was very clear to say here, with or without that will, King Misuzulu's ascendance to the throne would not be hampered by that, because either way, customary law and the tradition of the Zulu nation and the royal family was followed in nominating and endorsing him for the throne. However, the matter of the will is still going to play out in the courts.
The will of the king, the late King Zwelithini Zulu. Thank you very much for clarifying, Siphamandla Goge, and also for telling us what has been happening outside court there to Lethiwe Mdluli. Now,